Welcome to the Nice Hair Podcast. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Haley.
We are two girls committed to being nice,
To hair and business.
and to keeping it real.
Hot mics, just how we like them.
Camera is rolling.
And action.
Welcome. This is episode 23. Heather is our first guest that we're bringing on with both Haley and I. This is exciting.
Hi, Heather.
Love it. I like to be your first guest. What
I
an
know,
honor.
this is so fun.
So Heather's actually... Sorry, we're...
We couldn't get it to come off. So we're just we'll like Photoshop the, yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, which you should do because my husband decided that he can't stand listening, but he loves watching on YouTube.
My mom, though, thinks that we need to be more exciting on YouTube. It's so funny how we get so much feedback that unsolicited.
Right. Like how much fun can you be sitting at a table?
Like we're leashed by headphones and a microphone. We can only do so much.
But I think it is more fun to watch on YouTube.
Hannah, yeah, agree. But our little like action thing, we have one of those, what's it called?
A slate.
A slate. We have a slate where it's like action. And I just did it at the beginning of the episode, so you probably saw that. But it says 22 instead of what
Episode
number?
23.
23.
Is what it is,
I never know what episode we're on.
That's okay. Okay, so we're going to let Heather introduce herself. Heather is actually my client, but she is super interesting. Her and I have just always kind of clicked, and she's very intelligent, has a lot of great experiences. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to kind of talk about our topic today. So Heather, tell us what you do, just tell us.
Well, I have a lot of titles. I'm a mom and a wife and a former teacher. I taught middle school English for 12 years.
Bless your
I know.
soul.
People always say that, but I think middle school kids are truly... It's like the golden age to teach because I'm not wiping noses. I'm not zipping their coats.
Yeah.
You're just passing out deodorant.
Yeah, they're totally gross.
And pads.
Yeah, tampons too. That's a whole nother thing.
That is a tricky part about middle school is the puberty thing.
Hormones.
But they're impressionable, and I could get them to do crazy things. Like we are going to stand up and we're going to sing the Verb song, and you're going to like it.
And they did.
You're not too cool for school. So yeah, we had a good time. But I transitioned out of that about 5 years ago to start a direct sales business. But actually, I started the direct sales business and then transitioned out of teaching after I hit some goals with that. And
so Heather is really interesting to have on right now because our last episode, I mean, this could have gone either way. Okay. Especially because Heather's my client and I love her dearly. The last episode we did was...
No, the last episode that came out.
It's episode 18, I looked yesterday.
Yeah. So it's not actually going to be in order. But if you go back to episode 18, we did an episode and Haley and I talked about our opinions on
direct sales
and multi-level marketing, which Heather happens to be involved in and is super successful in. So we were kind of starting to have a conversation when Heather got in, and I was like, wait, let's just have this conversation on the podcast because she really has a great perspective about it. And I think it's important to have conversations.
Let me ask you this. What did you think when I sent you the text the other night and I said, yeah, I listened to today's episode? Nothing.
I think
radio silence.
I think my assistant was more
like stressed.
Oh, Kelby was so stressed about it. She's like, is Heather okay? Do you think she hates us? And I was like, number one, she doesn't hate you. She'd probably hate me. And I was like, I think I could get more of the hate because I hadn't met Heather up until this point today. So I feel like she could have focused that hate on me. I also feel like that episode was not coming from a place of anger with me. Like my opinion on
I was
it
kind
is
of mad.
Haley was a little more like heated about it, but I have more personal connections with very successful direct sales business people. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I see a lot of Heather's side of it. But I do obviously have an opinion about the other parts of the businesses that I'm not a huge fan of. Also, I'm just a business person, so I understand business in a way that like you got to get in where you fit in.
Well, and I think that's where we talked about on that episode, what we get it. Like we'll never get upset at somebody's like bettering their life, right?
Absolutely.
And I think especially just in Heather's introduction of how like she was a teacher and then she became so successful in her business, no matter what that business is, she was able to leave a job to work for herself, essentially.
I think too, I've seen directly with my own 2 eyeballs, Heather's interactions with women and with people on her team in such a positive, life-changing way that I understand that part of it. Like I know Heather's intentions.
Let's let Heather talk.
I'll shut up.
You know, I will never get mad at anybody for sharing their opinion. I mean, I genuinely,
Agree.
as I said to you, I believe that in any industry and anything we do, the second that we start caring, that we stop caring about the viewpoints of others is when shit falls apart.
I agree.
Right. So
Yeah.
I have always been very conscious and very curious to hear what people think of what we do. And I get it. I know those opinions are out there.
Will you tell us though, because I thought this was super interesting. You listened to that
Yeah.
episode 3 times. Can you talk about that?
I listened to it 3 times. The first time from my own perspective, right? Just to hear it. And
I was like, I asked Heather to be on the podcast. She came in today. This episode just got released a couple days ago. I was like, of course, this episode will get released. And then Heather would have to come in 2 days later.
I knew you were thinking that.
I like it though. I like it.
And you know what? Like, I think you get to a certain point in your life where you have so much going on where you're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I listened to it 3 times and I did that on purpose. So the first time from my perspective, because I wanted to just hear it and hear your perspectives too, but kind of put it from my own lens. Then I listened to it from your perspectives and really tried to view it from that angle and learned a lot by forcing myself to get into that headspace. The third time, then, I listened to it objectively, as though I were someone who did not know anything about MLMs and what I thought of that. Can I start with that opinion?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did you take away? Yeah.
Objectively, I thought there was a lot of double talk. And I understand why.
What does double talk mean? That mean like contradictory?
Yes.
Okay.
Like a lot of, I believe in capitalism. I would never fault anybody for selling anything or for hustling, but I kind of do.
Reflecting back, I thought there were judgy moments as well.
Yeah.
Which is human.
It is human. Or I totally respect you for selling whatever you want to sell. I would never buy anything from somebody who's not a professional. And I'm sitting there going, okay.
Yeah.
Totally fine and totally fair. Totally fair. But in one sentence, don't say you respect it. And then in the next sentence say, but really, I don't.
Right.
Makes sense.
And I understand you did throw a lot of really great complimentary things in there too. And I appreciated that. And I also know that it's hard to express opinions like this when you know that people are going to hear them that you care about and you value. And
yeah,
it's tricky. But I learned a lot of listening to it from your perspective. You had mentioned that it's predatory, and I don't believe that the intention of MLMs or direct selling is to be predatory. I believe it's designed really for the average person who does not know how to run a business, nor have time or capital to run a business, to earn a little extra from home. However, the people coming to you with the messages that you shared, I could see how you'd view it that way.
absolutely.
Because it wasn't about you and how I can help you. It was you'd be a good fit for my team. Me. What about my bottom line? And how can I use your beauty industry expertise to help me? So I got that, and I appreciated that.
I think Haley and I too, when Heather kind of told us her view on that, listening from that point of view, Haley and I were able to reflect about how businesses that we have either paid to take classes with or been involved with, how the same perspective has been kind of reflected in that way.
Mhm.
Like, you can take any business and be like, oh, well, they promised that I was going to succeed and I didn't succeed. You can say that about any business, whether it's direct sales or
100%.
any business.
Yeah.
That has you as the salesperson. So I think that we were using that as an example, maybe unfairly in some ways. And I think honestly, Haley and I are just so protective in the same way you are, Heather, over the businesses that we have built, that sometimes we get our hackles up about it.
Yeah.
And you know, like can just become protective over it.
Right. I don't think that most people who are trying to recruit for an MLM are focused on recruiting professionals. And so I loved hearing your viewpoint as a beauty professional, and can appreciate how you can say, don't come in and tell me that you know more about hair than I do. I get
Right.
where that would be insulting. It would be like me going to a dermatologist and saying, I know more about skin than you do.
Or like when you were teaching,
Yeah,
a parent coming in, well, you need to teach this way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Go teach your own kid then.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I absolutely understand why that would be frustrating and almost insulting.
Yeah, I think it's more of the sales part of it that is insulting to me, is that I feel sold to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I use the example of, I don't try to sell a piano teacher piano books,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or music books.
I love your analogies.
Oh my gosh, I have so many. But you know, it's because it's like, it's not about what, it's such an individual basis. Like there are good salespeople in every business and with good intentions, you know, and I think Haley and I, unfortunately, have just been approached by it pretty much. I haven't really been approached by a crazy amount of people, usually Monet people who are just like so super mad when I like, am like, I'm not interested in Monet. They like get mad at me, like literally. And I'm like, I just politely said no.
Which from their perspective, I love a no. If I talk to somebody about it and they're like, no, great. Now
least you know.
now I
Yeah.
can move on. They responded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were courteous, you know?
And that's what I was saying. I'll always give someone a response,
Yeah.
but
I do think there's a lot of people out there who, unfortunately, I shouldn't even say a lot. There are a handful of people out there who do it the wrong way and unfortunately give the industry a bad name and give people a bad taste in their mouth. And
That's the same. Hannah and I were on
Yeah.
the phone on my way here, and we had the same exact conversation about hair extensions.
yeah, Haley.
Truly, I don't know if I should talk about it.
No, it's fine. I think that's something good to keep in mind. I mean, even think about, you could apply this to religion. You could apply this to anything. There are people with, I think 85 to 90% of people in life have selfish intentions, but not bad selfish intentions. I think we're all just selfish because we're humans, and that's how we function. But I think that in any given format, industry, workspace, whatever, there are going to be a handful of people, you know, the 5 to 10% of people who are malicious or who have bad intentions or who are seeking for truly only themselves with no integrity in mind, and ruin it for everybody, you know?
I don't think that is indicative, though, as you just said, of the whole.
Right. Yeah.
and-
It's such a small portion.
I think that everybody, especially in this industry, we're all just waking up in the morning doing the best we can with what we have,
Agreed.
you know?
Right.
And like the girl who commented on the Microline post, right?
Oh, that one was.
Do I think her intention was bad? No.
Absolutely not.
I do think was she trying to make a sale? Maybe, probably. Does she think that those products maybe could actually help that person? Probably. Did she think about
Did she
how
think it
that
all the
might
way through?
affect the feelings of the person who is obviously in this vulnerable state? No. Did she think about how that might be insulting to you, who trained and worked really hard to transform this person? No. But I don't think her intentions were bad. And we're all trying our best from where we're at. And I do think that this business, you know, you talked a lot about selling the lie, right? Selling the lifestyle. I am so passionate about being completely transparent with people. I would never sit in front of somebody right now and say, you can do exactly what I've done, and you can do it in 15 minutes a day and work it in the nooks and crannies of your day, because that's not how I built this business.
Right.
Well, Haley and I were saying, even companies like, I'll say it, I don't care, fucking sue me. MBR says the same thing though. You know, it's like transform your business. Okay, well, yeah, you can if you work really, really hard. Like there's so many asterisks behind that. And also what I said to Heather is, you know, Haley and I have built our business to a point where we started doing this in 2017. It's almost 2020. The stakes are higher, you know? And so same thing with
Different
you, Heather.
space.
I'm sure that you came into your marketing space at a different time where the stakes were different
Totally.
than they are now.
Yeah.
And I think that timing has a lot to do with what kind of success you see with people.
I agree with that. Because when somebody comes in and says, do you recommend MBR? Yes, I do, because it transformed my business. But it was a completely different, my education was different than not the method, but how I was trained was different. There were so many different things. I got in at a great time. And I feel like a lot can probably go the same way with direct sales.
I think with any successful business, that
Yeah.
there's that podcast, How I Built This. Right?
Oh my God, it's my favorite.
It's like Haley's favorite
So
podcast.
good. And I believe it was the Instagram episode
Mm-hmm.
where they talked about the element of luck.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared that at a leadership retreat, and a few people got very heated and said, well, there's no luck to what I've built. And I said,
Luck is such a controversial word.
but there is a time and a place. And even the Instagram guy said, we really had this idea in the right space, the right time, the right environment. And that coupled with hard work
Yeah.
is
and
what
I
leads
think
to
agree.
a phenomenon.
taking the action
Yeah,
is huge, but I think timing is a lot of things.
absolutely.
And call it what you want, timing, call it luck, call it whatever, but I do think it plays a factor. I don't think it plays a majority factor, but I think, could I be successful if I started doing MBR now? 100%. I just think right at the time I got in, it was easy for me to explode not easy. I don't mean that. It was easier to explode my business.
I think just having time on your side too, and having more time. I know for me personally, having more time for me to be able to practice and get more content from like my socials was, and you know, that was, you could say lucky or, you know, according to time, but yeah, I'm not sure I would be in the same spot, but I mean, maybe I don't know. It's just
It's hard.
just-
you don't know.
and
But
it's
even
something
when
to
you're
keep in
given a
mind.
gift, when you're given, you know, we'll call it luck or a blessing, whatever, there's also a level of responsibility that you have there
100%.
to work and to grow it.
What are you going to do?
And
with
there
it?
are a lot of people who start in the direct selling industry and don't have success.
Right.
And it's because I think human nature, I don't think people realize you've got to work really hard. You have to be gritty. You have to be ready to hear a lot of no's. And you know what? I think it takes a lot of courage to get out there and send those messages, even the ones that might come across the wrong way. To do it in an industry that you know is not always looked at highly. Takes a lot of guts. And so I applaud anyone who does that and puts themselves out there. But it does take work and a level of commitment to self-improvement and professional development. And a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. And
At all.
when it gets a little hard, it's okay for them to stop and pull back and say, I don't want to do it, because the investment isn't that
low.
high. It's low, right?
Right.
But I also don't think most people are going into this looking to become multimillionaires. I think that for many people, $400, $500 a month can be life-changing. I talk
Yeah.
to those people every day. Like, gosh, Heather, I had $500 to pay my car payment this month, which is great because now I can put my kid in summer camp. You
Right.
know?
And I really want to take a minute to applaud you, Heather, for number one, having this conversation with us. I mean, that's a courageous thing in itself. Like I am putting myself in your shoes and imagining kind of backing my business in front of two individuals that literally just made a podcast about my business and not the best way. But I think that this is what's so important too, is that we're all like, hey, we're all business people. You know,
Yeah.
we're all utilizing what we have, the resources we have, our understanding and experience of life until this point in the best way that we can to move ourselves forward. And I think this is the important stuff that creates just respect and understanding with people too. I think I would like to add too, with success, I think facing adversity at some point in your life really sets you up in a way that you don't understand until you become somewhat successful, or until you get just a little taste of like, oh wow, like I just accomplished something and I can accomplish more. And then you're ready to fall and get back up and fall and get back up and fall and get back up. I think when people don't experience any type of hardship, or like or if people don't go without at some point in their life, in whatever facet that is in, I think it's easier to just give up. But I think when you come from a space of whatever you want to describe or call, a hard place or a rough time or whatever, I think it does, like you were saying, Heather, give you a kind of grit that will pay off in another way that you don't expect. And I think that's what the three of us certainly share in different ways, is that whatever and wherever in our lives we've had some sort of hard time or situation to overcome, or many situations. And so then we're prepared for those no's and, to push through.
It takes a lot of grit.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that you cultivate over time, I think.
Yeah.
But
I am interested in hearing your story of the time you got into your direct sales and when you were teaching, what made you get into it? I want to hear about that, because that kind of stuff is truly fascinating to me.
This is such a delightful surprise to have Heather talk about this.
have you ever heard how I got started?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, yay.
So my best friend, Jamie, she just had her third and fourth child. They were twins, and she was a teacher.
What
And
year was this? Sorry.
This was 2014. No, 2013.
Okay.
And she decided to stay home, and she called me one day. I remember the stoplight I was at, and she goes, I am going to start selling these products. And I said, you're insane. Like, who the fuck? Sorry.
That's okay.
Who talked you into
all the
this?
time.
Who talked you into this? And she's like, no one, just come over today and we'll have a glass of wine and we'll talk about it. So I'm the kind of girl who loves to poke holes. Like, I will research everything. And to a fault. Like, I wake up in the morning and I have a list of things that I want to research for the day. Some people work out. I have to give
You
myself.
research.
Oh my God. I'm like, I have a topic a month. That's a totally different story.
She really does.
I really do. Like airplane models and crazy nerdy
She knows
things.
more about airplanes than anyone I've ever met.
I do. I can identify them because I spent a month on it. I just like to learn.
She's committed.
Passionate. So anyway, Jamie said, come over and we'll have a glass of wine and we'll talk about it. And I went over for the free wine. And I started hearing all about it. And my immediate thing was, you have to have home parties. You're going to be one of those women schlepping around with Tupperware. And no. And she showed me the before and afters. And at the time, I had this really bad sun stash, melasma.
Yeah. I have a client with a really bad sun stash too.
And it looked like a mustache. And so I would put concealer on it, and then it looked like I had a white mustache. And then I'm the kind of person that if I know that there's a flaw in me, I'm going to call it out.
So that nobody else, so
But
they
you can't.
know.
So
You're
Yeah.
like self-deprecating about it. Yeah.
I'd cover my face. I'd talk like this. Hi, my name's Heather. Nice to meet you. Just so you know, this is not a mustache. It's a condition. I was really, really embarrassed about it.
She's like, I have a disease, so don't make fun of me.
And one time I was teaching and I heard a student say, Mrs. Niners has a mustache. And I was like, and it brought me to tears.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Isn't it crazy? All it takes is like one time.
from
for
a
somebody.
freaking 13-year-old, right? And so I knew I needed to change it. Nothing was working. And they had a product that they said could improve it. So I told her, I will buy whatever. I'll buy this from you, but I will never, ever host a party. And I will never become a consultant. So don't even talk to me about it. Not interested. And I went home that night and I started researching and wanting to poke the holes. And I woke up in the morning and realized I could not do it. It was the perfect fit for her. So she got going and she was successful and I was sending people to her. My melasma went away. I felt great. And then 7 months in, I looked and I thought, you know what? I'm saying no to so much shit. Like
And
no
you're
to the
sending her people.
yeah, no to the college roommate reunion weekend, no to the family vacation. And I thought, I did not work this hard as a teacher, I'm making literally like 10 grand more than I made when I started. If I want to improve the quality of my life, my husband owns his own business. I have to find something that's going to allow me to A, be able to say yes, and B, that I can do from home.
Yeah.
Didn't know jack shit about sales. I am not a skincare expert. I would never sit here and tell you I'm a skincare expert, but I did believe that these products were working for me and working for a lot of people.
What worked for you.
Also, from the first time I ever met you, I identified you as a businesswoman. Like, I think you just have that drive and that inner, like, there, some people have it. Like, I don't know.
I just love ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I love to sit in your chair. I always tell you, like, I leave my 7 hour, it feels like 7 hours. I know
It
it's not.
literally does.
But it goes by quick because I feel like I leave there inspired and wanting to
Oh, I love that.
run with. Remember that message I sent you?
Heather and she literally sent me the nicest message anyone's ever sent me. She was like, "Your brain is beautiful. You're very smart." Well, I'm just, she was so sweet. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, my guys are so nice."
Have you, really quick, read
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No.
Okay. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
But one of the things that they talk about in the book, and this is just what reminded me of what you said. Instead of saying how you were saying no to all of these things, and you could have looked at it in two ways. You could have said, well, I can't go on family vacation because I can't afford it. Instead of saying I can't afford it, you said, how can I afford it?
Yeah.
So then that is like, it's just a tiny little mindset shift. And just by saying that, like, you opened your own world up to these whole new realm of possibilities. If you like, you should seriously read that book. I downloaded it on Audible. It will change your like money life. It's so good. But that's just what that reminded me of. Instead of like, no, I can't afford it. You're like, no, what way can I afford it? And you were seeing how it was affording your friends, all of these things. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I don't want to live a no life.
Right.
I want options. I don't always want to live a yes life, but I want to be able to say yes to whatever I want to say yes to. And that was not going to happen in my teaching situation. So I thought, well, what could I do with a few extra $100 a month? And I started, learning and putting it out there. And I think that I did kind of have an eyebrow raise factor. People looked and went, oh, you're doing this? And I don't mean to toot my own horn there, but I think that they were
Toot your own
surprised.
horn.
They were surprised that I, was going to partner in this industry, and it just took off. I thought, this is fun. My first paycheck was $344.
Oh my God. I love that you remember that.
I remember.
Also-
and I was so happy. I'm like, this is half a Jeep payment.
That really is a lot of money to a lot of people at
Yeah.
any point in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never, ever expected in my wildest dreams at that point that it would become what it is today.
Yeah.
Never. But yeah, I took a lot of work. My husband and I sat down, long story short, and I said, what would it take for me to leave the classroom with this? And he gave me a big number because he owns his own business, and I had, the insurance payment. And,
Are you comfortable with sharing numbers?
Well, for me, it was a big number at the time.
Okay.
I made $2,000 a month teaching, and
Okay.
he said, if you can make $10,000 a month with this, then that's a comfortable spot for you to walk out.
Which was, yeah.
Did that seem impossible to you at the time?
So much.
Nothing seems impossible. Like, I'm not that kind of person
Okay.
who's like, I
Okay,
can't
cool.
do it. I'm like,
That's
I
why
love
we
that.
love Heather.
I'm like, give me
I
a goal
love
and
that.
watch it happen, right?
Okay. I love that.
But at the time, that the idea, even in my head, of making $10,000 a month was crazy.
Are you a numbers person or no?
I'm a data person, but not necessarily a numbers person.
Okay.
Yeah. Why?
No, I was just wondering, like, are you interested in doing like your own accounting and books and stuff like that, or do you not care?
Taxes make me cry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I still add like 7 and 6. I still add on my fingers for some reason. It's just never
right.
clicked.
There,
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm bad at blackjack. Because I have to look at the dealer and be like, is it 13? I don't
She's
know.
like,
What
I
is
think this is 13.
Yeah. So I said, well, watch me. And I committed really hard. I was pregnant with my second child. I had a baby at home, but I set up my day, and I was not going to work on this during the school day. I had kids that needed me. And not work at it when I was home alone with my kid, right? I wanted to be present. So that meant a lot of late nights every single night. And my car was my roaming university. I said, I'm going to treat direct sales like a college degree. I'm going to learn everything I can about how to be good at this business. And I did not have a lot of negative feedback at the time. There was one person who, a friend of mine who reached out to me, and she said, I have a problem with the way you shamelessly promote your business on Facebook.
If you're not shamelessly promoting your business.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? As my mom said, if there's one mouse in the cupboard, there's a million more. And so I put something out there and I said, I know that not all of you are going to like what I do and how I do it. And you might raise your eyebrows at it, and that's fine. But I have no shame in what I do. Like zero. These products work, and the business model's helping tons of people. And it just started to grow from there, and I had a confidence, and I've fallen down, like you said, so many times. But I've stood back up, and I'm goal oriented. So I kept setting the goal higher and higher and higher. And I left the classroom after 16 months. I hit my big goal.
That's amazing.
That's
Was that so
incredible.
hard?
Like when you have your first baby and you don't really remember the first 4 months, and all of a sudden,
And you don't know what to expect either.
they're like 7 years old, and like, I don't know where the time went. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was hard. But it was fun. It was worthy,
Yeah.
because teaching, there's no correlation between how hard you work and how well you're compensated.
Right. Yes.
Also, don't you feel like teaching, speaking in front of an audience, being able to coordinate and plan, don't you think that kind of all set you up for success in a way too?
I think that I was born to be a teacher, and like God
You're just
gives us
teaching in a
God
different
gives
way
us
now.
gifts, and you kind of know your purpose. And I knew at 7 that was my purpose on earth.
In a way, aren't you kind of teaching now
absolutely,
too?
and that's why I say all the time, I'm
100%,
teaching just in a completely different way, and that's why I do this. And it sounds selfish because people are always like, "Well, are you doing this to help better other people's lives?" Yes, but really, I'm doing it because I enjoy it,
And it
I have
fulfills you.
It fulfills me, and I used to feel bad about that for a long time.
I think we all have. I think you kind of have to get to a point where you're like, if I'm afforded the career to have fun and make money, I'd be doing myself a disservice to not have fun and make money. So like, I'm not going to apologize for it. And I'm not going to feel bad for other people who hate their jobs. Like
Right.
I have fun, love my job and make money. So I'm going to do that and do it.
You guys said in an episode early on that I listened to, you were talking about how we really enjoy social media. Like we have fun with it and we enjoy it, and we're not going to apologize. I feel like we live in a society where we have to apologize for enjoying social media. I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think you can look at it 2 ways. Like, yes, people get consumed with it. And I think do lose touch with reality. I think it connects a lot of people to reality though.
Agree.
Like, I think you have to kind of know yourself well enough and be self-aware, obviously. But I think there's a lot of lonely or disconnected or maybe introverted people that really are connected in a way that they may have never been connected without a tool like social media.
I would agree with that
I think-
wholeheartedly.
All 3 of us are very extroverted social people anyways. So it's just like another fun thing for us to connect to people. But I do think that it serves a really, really great purpose for people that might feel isolated in ways,
Yeah. And you mentioned that on the social media thing too, that for some people, this is not necessarily about, not social media, on the MLM episode, you said this is not necessarily just about building a business or making money, but it's the connection in the community.
That's how I truly feel with you and my other client that I have that are doing really well in direct sales. I genuinely see that in you and am so drawn to you in that way because I share that with you. You know what I mean? I share that common, like, no, I truly love women and want to help and watch other people succeed and want to feel like a leader and part of like a community of women who are like overcoming things and, lifting themselves up and pushing through. And
I talked to a girl the other day who I said, well, if you were going to do this, why would you want to do it? And she said, I'll be honest, I don't need to make extra money. And I said, okay. And she said, and I have a lot of friends. I said, okay. She said, I am not the kind of person who does hard things. And I want to learn and teach myself how to do something. And this is a challenge personally for me. And she was all about the personal
for
growth.
her.
I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. And I'm going to run with you. And so there's something out there for everybody. And I hope that if people take anything from this, it's that they remember it is not an overnight success thing. My story is very unique. And what has grown and transpired since I've been out of the classroom it's been insane and wonderful. But my success is only built on the success of other people. Right?
Can I like ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because a lot of people, I think that's one of the things they don't like about direct sales. They feel like it, like you're asking for the sale, right? A lot of times. So can you tell me, like, what do you think separates you in being successful other than like you got in at a great time or whatever, luck, whatever? How did you approach it? Maybe that was different than other people were.
Yeah. I think that you have to approach everybody in any kind of sales with the mindset of how can what I have to offer help you? And that is where I feel like you guys are not approached that way. You guys as beauty professionals, or at least from the messages that you shared in the podcast, are approached from a standpoint of you'd be great on my team.
It almost sounds and I could be completely off base and wrong in saying this. It almost came across to me a lot of times as, let me use you with what you've built. I want to use what you've built to benefit me. And that's where I want to tell you to just fuck right off.
And when I listened to it the second time from your perspectives was the first time I had thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that you would have maybe had a different feeling if somebody would have approached you and said, listen, Haley, I have no idea what you think about this. I'm doing this thing. Here's how in my mind, it might be interesting for you to look at it. Is a very different message than you'd be a great fit for my team. Because that's the me.
I think it's all about agenda. I think it's all about
your intention.
Yeah. That's my husband and I speak about this all the time. I fell in love with my husband because he's the type of person that he has no agenda. You don't ever, like, you met my husband, like he's just
he's an angel.
Yeah, he's just like, you meet him and you're like, oh, he's just a nice guy. Like he genuinely is.
Great guy.
There's nothing hidden about him. So I think you can be that type of person in any aspect of your life. Also, even if you do have an agenda, I took a class at Hair Camp with a woman named Sarah Singer.
Obsessed with the idea of Hair Camp.
Oh my gosh, Hair Camp's so much fun.
I want to go and stay in a cabin.
You can come.
We could probably sneak you in.
Literally, we can just. But Sarah taught something that was so neat, and she taught the idea of that everyone has a voice inside their head. Okay, it's their ego, whatever, and it's about kind of as a person talking to the other person's voice inside their head, not necessarily talking to them, but talking to that voice inside their head that like sometimes doesn't make sense or sometimes is irrational or jumps to conclusions. And she did a thing like a kinetic movement with her body that has stuck with me. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. She would say, anytime you're trying to reach someone, look at them and say, my world, your world. And think about like, what's going on in my world? And then maybe what's going on in your world? And how do I get inside your world and think about like what that's like? And then kind of move on from there. And that gives you, a starting place for empathy and for, just a different perspective. That's really stuck with me. So it's kind of that thing, my world, your world. Like these are two different worlds. Maybe how could I reach you the best? Or are you even willing?
Or like if you approach it, like how can I serve you the best?
Yeah. There's your world that needs something. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. Your husband, who you said is not someone who ever has an agenda, would your husband be a successful business owner?
Yeah, if it was something he was passionate about.
I ask that because I do believe there's an element of needing to have an agenda
I agree.
in any sort of business.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really love people who don't have agendas. I do have agendas.
I'm trying to make
that
money.
They are bad. Yeah, I am. I am trying to better my life, and always.
Yes.
And
agreed.
I think you have to be strategic about that. You're strategic about how you go about.
There is an
Absolutely.
element of, and I don't even want to call it selfishness, but the purpose of a business, I've said it a bajillion times on here, is to be profitable.
We all have lizard brains that keep us alive that literally are selfish. Like selfish is such a subjective word. Subjective word because it's like we are wired as humans to be selfish. We have to eat. We have to sleep. We have to do all these things that are self-serving.
Put on our
So-
own oxygen mask first.
Yeah. So like to say people are selfish is just the oddest thing to me. Sorry, Haley, I didn't mean to cut you off
That's
because
fine.
I'm like, if people are turned off by like selfish talk, I'm like, as if, whatever.
But it's the
As
intention
if.
piece, I think, is that you can have an agenda, but also what is your intention?
Maybe I'm using, I don't know if agenda is the right word.
I've had this conversation with my dad quite a few times because he just thinks my whole business blows his mind. He's like, you have created a business on something that is so unnecessary. And he's a man.
I love that he says that too.
He's a mortgage broker. He's in like real estate, that kind of stuff. So like everybody needs a home, right? And in some way, right?
Mhm.
So to him, he's like that's a necessity. Your job, okay, doing hair, sure, people need haircuts, whatever. You could live without it. But add on extensions to that, okay? It's so unnecessary and you've built an entire career on it. So it blows his mind not only that I've built a career on it, but that I'm able to charge what I am charging for something that you don't need to live, right?
Luxury.
A luxury. So it just completely he's like, I don't understand. And it's something that I think we could struggle with in the sense, because it's like, are we not taking advantage? But are we charging somebody this astronomical amount for something that is unnecessary? What I think is the fulfilling part for us is the fact that it's so much more than hair,
We're
right?
selling a feeling, essentially.
Watching a woman go from not being confident in herself to the confidence that she has when she leaves our chair with that hair, like that is life-changing. That fulfills me. I'm helping, and that affects a woman in every other area of her life, not just how she feels about herself. That helps how you show up in your business. Think about it. When you wake up and you're feeling great, you show up so much better for everybody around you, right? So, and that's kind of what I've talked with my dad about. I'm like,
Yeah.
Dad, to you, you don't get it. You don't have that much hair. For a woman, it's different. And yes, it is unnecessary, but for some women, it's not even an option.
We're
you know,
artists.
In 2008, at the depths of the recession, the beauty industry grew by like 18%. So people are willing to forego like the, organic milk,
Right.
but they're still willing to pay to look good because,
Yeah.
like you said, it is a feeling. And if
I-
people see the value in it and they're willing to pay it, then
They won't pay it.
they'll
but
pay it.
yeah.
My confidence with my hair, because I have like 16 strands of real hair, maybe.
Are you counting them right
I
now?
mean, yeah,
She's like,
it's-
one.
My ponytail is like, yeah, it's tiny.
It's like the size of like a half of a pinky.
I don't even need like a real hair tie for I can use those tiny little like braces. Remember the rubber bands from your braces? I could use that on my, but it's something that every single day and every time I looked in the mirror, I thought my hair sucks.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel that way.
Right.
And
it
you
makes
don't have
me
to worry
feel
about
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to
Yes.
be able to put a bun in my hair. It's like I'm
Also-
smiling about it. I love
Aw.
it. So
I think
I forget where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a great point, Haley. I like to look at it as, you don't go to Rome or Paris and walk through these beautiful art museums and look at these wonderful pieces of art and ask why they're priceless or whatever. Not that our service is like that, but it's because someone values it because for whatever reason, because it makes them feel a certain way. When they look at it, it is aesthetically pleasing to them. It gives value to them in some sort of way. And in the same way, we're artists, we're creating a form of art that people value.
Right.
Because it gives them a feeling of confidence and of, just the ability to go about their day feeling better. And so I think you could say that with anything. Like, why do
Agree.
people want really expensive cars? That's not necessary. Or what, like you could drive a whatever. I mean, you could
But
literally tear everything apart.
I think I lost my train of thought. And now it's coming back to me just on like fulfilling, like you're fulfilling just so much more in like, is it selfish of us? Like my job makes me feel great. I feel great every day when I leave work, knowing how I'm helping make other women feel. Do I get to make a great living at it? Yes. So, but I'm also helping other women in the same sense.
And you've worked really
If
hard
that makes
for that
sense,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
But that's how I view MLMs.
yeah.
And you guys had said, well,
Fair.
it's a business model based on just trying to recruit people. And that was one of the things I wanted to touch on.
Go ahead,
And
girl.
is that selfish, right? I think that's a common misconception is that, the majority of the money that I would make is based on just getting people in the door. I
will be
make
honest.
money.
That's that's what I thought.
So if somebody recruits somebody in my organization,
Can you tell us how many people we have under you?
probably around I think it's about 5,600 now.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot. I've got a big team.
I have a question for you too when you're done with this
yeah.
thought.
Okay.
But I didn't recruit all those people.
Okay.
Here I'm making my diagram.
Watch on YouTube.
It's I spread the word and then they spread the word, and I am paid a commission on those people who sell products.
Okay.
So I might make $5, let's say, on somebody in my organization who brings somebody in the door.
Okay.
I only make money though off that person if that person has success. If they don't sell anything, I don't make a dime.
Okay.
They have to work and have to sell.
Got
And the majority of our income and revenue is not coming from the people who join. It's coming from customers who buy
Purchasing.
from those people. That's why Advocare had their issue. They weren't bringing customers in. And our company
You
really
weren't
is
selling
built
product.
right. They were selling
Okay.
product
Okay,
to,
this is making sense.
to consultants. We have consultants who sell product to customers.
So that's where your sense of community is huge and why you want to establish a community and help your people be successful in what they're selling, because then that benefits all parties involved.
Yeah, absolutely. My
Okay.
success is merely a byproduct of their success. So if I can help them hit whatever goal they might have, whether it's $500 a month or whatever, ultimately, that does rise up and help me. But I look at it like, okay, if I make 5% of their sale that they make, well, that's kind of like my teaching salary. I am working daily to motivate and inspire and teach them. So, yeah.
I respect that. Okay, you might.
This might be a little.
I don't want to say you're changing my mind on MLMs just yet.
I was
And
always
that's not
kinda
my
open.
intention. My intention is not
No.
to change your mind, but just to share my perspective.
And like that's so interesting because I think of how many people reach out to me via social media asking tips and things and it's like I'm sharing things that I've spent a lot of money learning, and people, and you do want to help people, yes. However, after a while, it's over and over and over and over again. And you're like, it would be great if I was being compensated for what I'm sharing and helping you
That's
with.
why when Haley the other day was like, oh no, I have a consultation fee now if there's like, if the questions go beyond a certain point. And I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just to we'll talk real quick on this. I had somebody reach out. They wanted me to help them purchase extensions, which I was totally fine with, but they weren't interested in MBR. She said, can you help me buy these clip-in extensions? And I've done that previously for a client, and I spent hours helping, a lot of back and forth. And it was like, for what?
And she wasn't purchasing your service. She was needing your knowledge.
Yes. So I said to this girl, I would absolutely love to help you. I'm going to invoice you $100 for my consultation fee. Then I can help you purchase, because I'm
Sounds
like
fair to me.
so done with this whole like.
How did she respond? Was she
She sent me her email, and I just sent her what my invoice was, and I didn't hear anything back, which was fine.
But I think that's a great idea, because it's like, you don't show up at a doctor's office and be like, hey, I have this rash. What do you think I should put on it? And then like leave not expecting to pay like a copay or something. You know what I mean?
The fact that if that's like, I get that as a business owner, like it's exhausting. People like hitting you up all the time. Like, can you please help me? Yes, I'm happy to help you. But at some point, like I need to be compensated for my time.
No, I think
and my energy as well.
He's like a great
so-
idea.
absolutely your time has a value,
Yes.
and your
100%.
knowledge has a value.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
Agree.
I think it's okay to ask for it if you're going to give it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that gave me the idea when people come at me with more than like 2 questions. Yeah, sure. Like I have a consultation fee. I'd love to schedule a time to.
Yeah. Let's have a phone call. We can FaceTime if you want.
Yeah. Heather, I have one last question for
Yeah.
you before we wrap this up. I'm sorry if this is, I'm not sorry.
Don't be
I
sorry.
don't mean for this to be uncomfortable, but I do wonder this. How does the events that happened with AvoCare resonate with you? And
Yeah.
does it scare you at all? I mean,
No, it doesn't scare me because, like I said, that. Well,
I mean,
first
I
of
know
all,
they're different.
yeah, first of all,
obviously.
I feel bad.
Me too.
Actually, because I do know some people who were very successful with Advocare. But it's why I always believe that if you're going to get involved in anything, do your research on the company. And
Yes.
there are a lot of companies that pop up selling, every day. And the bottom line is that most direct sales companies don't, and I'm not just talking about the consultants, most companies as a whole do not succeed beyond 5 years. So I do believe that if you're going to start with something, you want something that's been around for at least 5 years, because chances are they're going to be around for a lot longer. But you want to make sure that they have more customers than consultants, than business people, because that is what the FTC kind of looks for as far as is this a fair and by the book company?
Are they
Okay.
actually selling a product?
Are they? Well, all of them sell a product.
Yes.
Right? Every direct sales company, you heard the term pyramid scheme. Pyramid scheme is the exchange of money without product.
Okay.
So you're giving money, who gives money. Every legitimate MLM company has a product that they sell. But sometimes if they're only trying to get consultants in the door and the majority of the income's based on sales to consultants,
Okay.
Yeah.
then
They're consumers.
yes, then the FTC is going to raise a red flag. And that's what happened with Advocare. So that's the first kind of thing that I would encourage you to look at is,
So
do they have a lot of
Advocare
customers?
Stop the amount of product that they were selling to consumers essentially became less than the amount of product that they were selling to
Reps.
reps who were then making the higher up people money. So it got flipped.
Exactly.
And then the FTC stepped in and said, hey, there's no actual business here because the product isn't being sold to an audience or a.
Well, I don't know if they said there's no actual business, but
Well,
it
you know
went,
what I mean.
yeah, it went against some sort of regulation. So, the majority of if I broke down my paycheck, the majority of my check is actually a commission from customers.
I was going to ask.
Yes.
I was
Now,
actually
I
getting
get-
ready to type that question
I
out,
get
so I didn't forget it.
paid. Of course, I had to bring people into my team who brought people into their team who then get customers
Yes.
to make that happen.
Yes.
But the bulk of it is that we sell a good product to really happy customers and they buy it repeatedly.
Okay.
And that's why it works.
Girl, I love that lash boost. You know, I talked about it.
But then the other thing with
She did.
Advocare too is that you have to be careful about is the lifestyle claims.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
The claims of
Oh, yeah.
you can get in and you're going to be driving a yacht and
Yes.
a Bentley. My story is so very, very unique. And I think you always, like I said earlier, have to be honest with people and transparent that it takes a lot of work and it's not likely to
But-
get into one of these things and become a multimillionaire. You've
But I
got to
think-
work hard.
That's like two where you could probably attribute a lot of your success. You've been very transparent.
Mhm.
I would, yeah.
Don't sell
I
people a lie. Like that's gross to me.
I agree.
Sell them the
And-
truth that it takes
yes.
a lot of work and a lot of factors put together.
And ultimately, it takes the business savvy end of it too. To like, if you start making money, be smart with your money. Don't go buy a freaking yacht and do all this crazy stuff. If you like get a little bit of money, like
Unless you're laundering money. And you,
Haley wants to launder money, so that's,
that's
a whole
my
other
life
thing.
goal. Yeah.
Dylan's not convinced Haley even knows what laundering money is.
No, that's, never mind. We can talk more about that
But
later.
I think that it's there's so many things that play into understanding how to, number one, be a business person and successfully be a salesperson, and number two, how to successfully handle your money.
Mhm.
You know, and not get too big for your britches and not get carried away. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's what I see from this. Cause I reflect back to AdvoCare people I know, and I'm like, ooh, I hope they were really good with their money. That's what I hope for them.
Do we have to wrap up? Because I feel like I still have questions.
You can sure ask one more question, then we'll
Just one.
Yeah, Dylan said 5 more minutes, so whatever you can get in on that.
Oh, okay. 5 minutes. Okay. So can you?
I love this.
I know, me too. I do have now a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me like what your day consists of now
Oh,
from your business perspective side, because I think that's an important thing for people who maybe think like, oh, it is just like a few minutes every day, like working, like tell me, like, I know your day is packed full, right?
Oh, Heather told me she just lays around her pool all day.
I eat bonbons.
Do you drink margs all
on the
day?
top of my
All
pyramid.
day. She does nothing.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
So I had to trick my brain. I trick my brain into lots of things. And when I look at it like this is my business, I'm curious to see how you guys would. When I look at it like a business, I don't have to show up, if that makes any sense. Like I can make my own rules. So I have to trick my brain into this is my job.
Okay.
So I have hours, like my husband knows at 9:00, I am in my office and I'm doing something. So every day is a little different. A lot of coaching calls with people on my team, some, teaching them something, working with them, maybe handling an issue or one or two here or there. Checking in with my customers because I still have lots of customers.
That's going to be another question.
Yeah,
so.
And you kind of mentioned this. Did my focus shift at one point from really getting customers to working with my team? Yes.
Okay.
Why? Because that's more fun for me. It is way more fun for me to teach and plan a training and do that than it is to push a product.
Because then you're helping people have a similar success to what you're having.
You've also had so much success too. It is now, I think, your job to teach other people,
Share your knowledge.
Yeah. What are the steps you took? And Haley and I kind of step into those roles when people shadow us or whatever that we have people pay for because we're sharing our knowledge.
Okay. So keep
the
going.
problem though, for me that I got into, if I'm being very transparent, is that I really prefer the role of coach.
Okay.
And if you step into that role for too long, you get rusty.
Okay.
So you can't teach the new techniques to people.
Okay.
Because you don't know them.
Because you're not practicing them constantly. Like if you weren't constantly practicing your skill, you do it every day.
Yes.
Sure, you could go teach NBR. But then if you hadn't actually done one in a year, you're going to get rusty.
Yes.
We've seen this.
And you can't. And so what I try to remember, and this is not my analogy, I'm stealing it from Jessica, my friend, is that you want to be the captain of your team, right?
Yes.
The captain is the best player on the team. The captain is the one who is out there in the field, in the trenches, running the drills, who people look to and admire. So for me, it's kind of I went back for a while to, I'm going to be the captain again, and I'm going to learn how to get good at selling product again. Like my next 2 months are focused on getting more customers.
Okay.
Like, and leading my team through a book that I'm reading, Selling Boldly, really good book about mindset and sales. Super into it.
Selling boldly.
Yeah. Yeah. His whole premise is that you can grow your sales exponentially by talking to your happy customers.
Yeah.
And because then it's a mindset shift and it's really interesting. But walking them through that. So I plan trainings. I speak a lot.
Okay.
So practicing speeches, learning. Yeah. I mean, my day looks a little different, but it's always avoiding the post office.
So just doing more, I think. And that's essentially where Haley and I think just pushing yourself to do uncomfortable things, going back to the drawing board and being like, I'm not too good actually to sell. And actually I can learn more to do this.
Because people can smell it when you're fake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like my team, if I'm getting out there and saying, do this and that with your customers, they haven't heard me or seen me bring a customer in for a while. They're going to question that. So I need to be the leader of my team for them to be inspired to do the same.
No, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah. I picture a high school homecoming parade, and instead of being the homecoming queen who's just sitting on the back of a convertible like this, you're the cheerleading captain who's behind the procession, still with the cheerleading team, enjoying the parade.
Analogies. Yeah.
But you got to take that crown off.
I know.
Yeah. That crown's cute, but
How
Not
do you-
practical.
No.
am I still allowed to ask questions or I'm not?
One more.
Okay. How, what's your, I don't know if you even want to say this and you can say no. How are you telling your people to try to get new customers? Like, what's your approach with that?
So there's customers and consultants, and I encourage people to take a balanced approach in this business.
Okay.
But I do tell my team, you have to have a level of self-awareness, and connection is important. And so I encourage them to look at the people that they'd want to reach out to about the business, but first to think, how could what I have to offer help that person?
Okay.
And then frame it that way. Hey, I noticed that you were talking about, struggling to save for these weddings that you have coming up. I have no idea if you'd be interested in this, but here's why you might want to look at it. Present a possible solution. But is it weird when you go to somebody who you haven't seen since Mrs. Bentley's 10th grade geometry class and you're like, hey girl, hey. I'd love
Those
for
are
you
the
to-"
ones we get.
Yes.
And that is all about self-awareness.
Yes.
Would you, if you wouldn't say it in the tampon aisle of Target, face to face,
Preach,
don't
girl.
hide behind social media.
Ooh, I like that.
Would you go up to Sally from geometry class and be like, hey, Sally, hope all's well. Your daughter looks cute. Listen, I would
Isn't
love,
Heather the best?
I would love for you to show you my business. And I think you'd be super great on my team. It's like David Silver from 90210, who's like, ooh, me. You are gonna, and he was annoying. Like, be the Dylan McKay.
Yeah.
Dylan was like, hey, listen, what I've got is pretty freaking awesome. And
I mean, you don't have to try it. It's
I'll
fine.
tell you about it if you want me to. But first,
Right.
I'm going to see if we're going to vibe and gel together. Like, Dylan was the cool cat, coy boy in the playground.
Dylan is
And
fun.
And Dylan.
Yeah. So I encourage them to make connection. I encourage them to focus on their intention and to solve a problem. And maybe it's somebody's skin.
That's what sales.
Maybe it's a business problem, but
Maybe it's self-confidence. Maybe your hair's really shitty.
Whatever.
Maybe
Yeah.
your husband really just likes when you have long hair and you like when your husband likes you. I mean, there's
yeah.
like so many things. Or maybe
Yeah.
your husband likes when your skin is radiant and you like when your husband likes your radiant skin or whatever.
But I'm never going to fault people for sending. I didn't send those kind of messages in the beginning. I didn't know any better. I did
It's because
send.
you're cool.
I did
Heather.
send some of the vomit messages, and I look back and
We've all-
cringe. and
yeah.
I was
okay.
just doing the best I could with where I was, and I'm
And what
always
you knew.
evolving. And yeah, but I do believe that this business can change people's lives. It changed mine. But everybody's life has changed with a different amount and with a different reason. And I loved to hear your perspectives. I'm definitely taking a lot of that back to my team, especially when it comes to talking to professionals.
Yeah. And I, again, want to thank you for having the courage to come on and talk to us because I know that can be kind of intimidating. But Haley and I obviously are coming from very like pure and curious places like you were. And I think a lot of our opinions were just based on
Our
experiences
experience
that we'd had.
that we
you
had.
know?
That's where I felt like it was a hard thing to talk about as an episode, just because, like, again, like I'm a business owner, and this is where I feel like the double talk that you were talking about. I understand why you feel that way, because it was like, I get it. Like, you want to help and you want to change your life, and if this is a way that you can do it, do it. You know what I mean? But in the same sense, based on our experiences, it's left a super bitter taste in our mouths. So, but it's very interesting talking with you about it.
I think you'll see that shift.
Yeah.
We, as a whole, as in an industry, are really shifting from, what worked a few years ago is not necessarily what's going to work
Right.
now. And it's just learning what that's going to look like.
And Haley and I do that as individuals too. And I think that's the ultimate thing to take away
You just
from
have to keep evolving.
from this conversation is to, find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you or what you like and what you don't like. And then be flexible and willing to pivot and willing to explore new options and just keep learning and receive feedback too.
I love it. That's why I love you.
Yeah.
Heather,
Heather,
thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
You are so
Yeah.
welcome. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Heather,
Can you
give
give
your
us
Instagram?
Tell us how we can.
Heather.Ninouris. I'm going to spell it for you.
And we'll put it in the details.
Nianouris. It sounds like an STD, doesn't it? My Ninouris is flaring up.
Sounds like an STD I'd want.
No.
Yeah. Lots of crazy stuff over on
And
the
we'll
Instagram.
put Heather. Heather's literally probably the funniest Instagram you'll follow.
It's a shit show.
She's hilarious. So if for nothing else, just follow her Instagram just for fun. But we'll put the details for her Instagram in the show notes of this.
Deal.
Thank you so much for coming
so
on.
much.
You're so
for being
welcome.
here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so fun.